Suicide Prevention Week, sparking the conversation about suicide and prevention. In fact, Bakersfield police say they've responded to a suicide just this morning near Hagen Oaks in southwest Bakersfield. 23 ABC's Emma Lockhart has more on what you can do to end the stigma surrounding suicide and help those suffering around you. Emma?
That's right, Tim. I spoke with local suicide survivor Ellen Eggert. She now runs a suicide prevention hotline. Her story providing hope to those struggling. And although suicide rates are up, Eggert is focusing on ways to combat the issue.
Suicide is about unbearable pain. People are ambivalent about dying. They get to the point they feel like that's their only option. But if we care enough to get involved with people, you know, something's not right. What's going on with you? We don't do enough of that anymore.
Ellen Eggert, who once attempted suicide herself, working to change that.
There is hope, and the day gets better. I'm an attempt survivor, and I run the crisis hotline now.
That hope driving her in her work at Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, trying to break down the stigma surrounding suicide. The first step in doing that, encouraging a more open dialogue.
We know most people won't tell us they're thinking about suicide because of the stigma and taboo, but we also know all the research shows people want us to ask them about suicide.
And looking out for major behavioral changes like mood swings, sleeping too much or too little, acting anxious or reckless, and substance abuse.
Ask that question, are you thinking about suicide? No, you can't put it in their head.
And starting the discussion early on.
We need to have that sit-down dinner talk and talk about suicide, telling our children, you can come to me anytime and talk about it.
That conversation imperative with suicide rates up among teens.
For our 10 to 14-year-old females in the last 20 years, their suicide rate has risen 50%. For our young men in that same age group, it's risen 30%. Our kids are hurting.
And treating mental illness like we would any other sickness.
Your brain is sick. It's just not working the way any other part, any other organ in your body doesn't work sometimes. So we have to take care of it.
With Eggert, a force of hope for those still fighting, helping the community navigate a very difficult battle.
And you can get better. And when you wake up one day and realize you don't want to die, it's the most beautiful thing in the world.
Now, Eggert says that if you know someone who is suicidal, you can take them to the Mary Kay Shell Mental Health Center in Bakersfield. Help and resources are also available if you call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Tim, Jess, back to you.